Next guy is the fellow holding a brolly. I love these guys holding their folded brollies, pose it makes, giving them something to create interest. And I want a bit more blue in this shape. We're creating that arm on that fellow there, the side of his bag. There's the light. And his coat also is catching a highlight just as it flicks around there. A bit more blue into it. Now, where's his highlight? Between his legs, there's light catching the bend of the leg in front of it, coming down. See how versatile these brushes are. You can, a sable brush can do anything. They are the most beautiful brushes. They hold plenty of water, plenty of pigment between the barbs of real hair. Look how much I get done with one brush load. I don't need to reload, do I? Because the pigment is held in such quantities inside or between the barbs of hair. I cannot tell you enough how, basically, to me, only use sables. You can't paint without them as far as I'm concerned. Back to the Prussian blue, the underside of the foot, and I think we can actually touch a little tiny bit of ochre, maybe the burnt sienna or the ochre, just something to just green it off a little bit at the bottom. It's actually where he's been walking, is creating this, but it just gives a bit of interest in the colour, and his foot also is up in the air, so it's not casting a shadow, it's the foot behind that is casting the shadow on the ground. So once again, shadow taken from his foot, no light on the side of his foot, so this shadow can come right up beside his foot and the one that's coming from his risen foot. We can make that a little bit more interesting, those creases, just so you can feel that's the trousers in there. Now we're just going to tackle both those heads. We've got two headless men at the minute. But you see, that's how it would be if you were painting. I wouldn't actually try and paint something as complicated as this necessarily first off. But if you've been painting several sketches and you've done lots of individual characters, then you could go for something like this, because you can pick and choose from your pictures while you're waiting for people to move into those poses. I've got a grey-haired man here. Maybe that would be quite handy. We haven't got a grey-haired guy. They're rather young so far. Once again, we're not really worried about collars because it's a matter of light and shade rather than colour. Right, now he's holding a brolly as well. I forgot that, didn't I? Right, so now I've put the brolly in, I can bring the background up against, right, we want the background quite dark as well because it's basically the same tone. There's bits of railing that are lit, but we can't worry about too much or too complicated. So effectively what we're actually having to do is just leave this brolly out. And there are some highlights now on the railings that I want to leave out. I'm using Windsor green with the Prussian blue. I'm using all transparent colours so that I can go really dense. Keep this nice and dark because we don't really want to come back and have to do this again. And also the shadow is cast by the railings. Let's also, because we've got nothing at the minute defining that arm there, and the chances are what will happen is I'll forget which photograph I'm working from. So let's get that shape in now so I know where that's going. Coming now to the next guy, this is the guy going down into the station. Nice dark colour. Ooh, almost too dark. Got to leave the highlight on the top of his trousers, but he blends into the background. Now the guy in front, oh, we can have a bit less paint on here because you can see he's slightly bit pale. He's got lovely highlights on his shoulders. These lovely slivers of light. Slither of light on the side of his suit. And he comes down. He's not lit on his left-hand leg. He's catching light on his right-hand leg. And once again, we pick up a little bit of green into his shoe and drift out the shadow. So this shadow is now a whole man, effectively, and it's going to come all the way along here, joining that shadow and the shadow of the other guy there is also going to come along and blend. See the railings. Leaving this highlight on that guy's trousers. So effectively what I'm actually looking at is just areas of light between dark washes, whether they be men in suits or whether they be now the dark green of the railings. So last fellow coming in now. Leave the light on the side of his trousers, on the side of his jacket, light on the side of his trousers. Further away, the shadow's more dense. Let's have a bit of hand. That's not hand there. Let's have some head. Some more hair, keeping the light, and now he is framed by the railing. So now we can go in with the dark green of this background, leaving little highlights. Let's see how high these railings come. Leaving the little light that he's got on the side of his trousers, coming down, a shadow that's cast by the newspapers. And the newspapers themselves, white in shadow, so they're not a dark shadow like the men, but they do blend with the other shadow. And all the background now we can build against the shapes of light top of their heads. I'm going to use this Windsor green over the top of them to create their heads. Right. And all I'm going to leave out from this wash is the lovely underground sign. I'll have one brush to paint the colour and one brush to bring it up against the darks. The name of the station. And just come round over the top of these, bringing out, can't spell station. Just got a hint that the letters are there. Doesn't have to be exact. Can even indicate his glasses. Here's the railings. And it starts turning to blue. The background is now the buildings. We can pick up some of that lovely mauvey colour that we've used for the shadows. We don't need any detail. We're just leaving those lovely slithers of light on their shoulders. On the side of the... Oh, nearly forgot the top of the papers. And then the station. Right, we don't want this to be hard red and blue, it's in the background, so I'm going to wet the area and then use a small brush, I think, to create the symbol of the underground. In fact, I want it to be a little bit darker. Let's just, oh no, we can darken it over the top, can't we? That's a good idea. We all know what the underground symbol looks like, so we don't have to spell it out. Just have to indicate that it's blue with a bit of lettering at the top. And then I think I'll just wait for that to dry. I just want to tone that down, have a quick look, see if everything makes sense. She could do with some light on the side of her trousers there. Oh, what about the umbrella? That tip of the umbrella. Now, where's that tip of the umbrella? Oh, we can have a nice bright yellow in there. You can actually have a bit of colour under there too. A little bit of light under, a little bit of darkness under there where the railings are. Okay, all we want is just that to dry, just a tiny tint of Prussian blue over that, and that's my memory of rush hour in the city. While I was waiting for it to dry, I noticed that this guy hasn't cast a shadow. So we need to take his shadow from there, and that also helps just highlight the edge of that guy's trousers. And now I'm just going to take that wash, very light, but just to knock back that tube sign so that it goes back behind the guys and doesn't sit on their heads. And while I'm doing that, I can just bring a couple of things down so that it does something useful as well. And the last thing I saw also while I was waiting was that little umbrella. The guy in the middle has a nice little yellow ochre handle, so I can finish with my favourite colour. Talk about yummy, that was watercolour. That is just how I love painting watercolour. Rich, dense colour, highlights, shapes, speed, gorgeous sable brushes. What could you ask for?
Now available on DVD. Try these techniques yourself at home whenever you wish. Today's workshop is now available to order on DVD from the Painting and Drawing channel. For further information and to order your copy, go to www.paintingdrawingchannel.com.